But just will.
All right, howdily doodly, everyone. So the Game Awards nominees just got announced today, so I thought it'd be really fun if we kind of went through them and picked out what my favorites were. And Cass is working right now, and honestly hasn't played a lot of these games, so I thought I would just do this one solo. So let's get started and go through it. So we're gonna save Game of the Year for last, looking at Best Game Direction. Now, admittedly, I have not played Final Fantasy VII Remake, Ghost of Tsushima, or The Last of Us Part 2, and I actually just got a VR setup this week. And I've been playing Half-Life Alyx, and I am extremely impressed by it. This is actually an extremely difficult choice, because obviously I'm picking from the two games that I've played. I probably wouldn't give it to Final Fantasy even if I played it, because I've seen a lot of gameplay of it, and it looks fun. It looks like a really fun game. Like, I want to play it, but it also seems like it's a big time sink. So it's kind of hard to justify. There's so many games to play. Like, Ghost of Tsushima is probably next on my list of games to play. Last of Us Part 2 I know is going to be on this. It's going to be here a lot. I mean, that just makes sense. It was one of the most anticipated games of the year. And so, but the thing is like, I wanted to play this for bonus time, because I wanted to play through The Last of Us and Last of Us Part 2. I thought it'd be really good for bonus time. So, I've kind of put those off for that reason. So, anyway, picking from the two games that I've played here, Hades and Half-Life Alyx. It's tough because I haven't beat Half-Life Alyx yet, but I'm just so impressed by how the world looks in VR, and like, if experiences can be like that in VR, then VR absolutely has a big future. And if you haven't had a chance to play it yet, please do. Like, if you get VR for Christmas or whatever at any point, Half-Life Alyx is like got to be the pinnacle of VR. Now, the reason why I even want to say Hades too, though, is because I've never seen a roguelite tell a story so well. Because usually, like, roguelites are all about the gameplay loop, right? They're all about the gameplay loop, and that's why you play it. And Hades has that gameplay loop, but it also has this story and these characters that you just start bonding with. And I was just so impressed by that, because no roguelite has ever had a great story. At least that I've seen. So I really want to pick Hades for this too, but it's really hard to push off Half-Life Alyx for game direction. Right? We're talking about game direction, and in terms of making VR feel so legit, I think I'm actually going to end up picking Half-Life Alyx, just because of it's so revolutionary, and at least it feels that way when I'm playing it. And it also could be the honeymoon phase of it, you know, because I'm playing it now. Like, I just get this out of my face. I'm trying to vote here. It could be the honeymoon phase of it, because I'm just starting to play it. Like I'm like 6 hours in, and that could be part of it too. But I'm gonna go with game direction here. Now, for narrative, 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim. I've actually never heard of this game, let alone played it, which is something that's always really cool about the Game Awards in general, because there's always seems to be games that I run into that I've never played before, that it just always leads to playing more awesome games. I mean, there was a game last year, Disco Elysium, that I had never played before, and I'd never even heard of it until the Game Awards, and found out that it was this really cool game. And I was very impressed by it, and I didn't know about it until the Game Awards. So this might be another one of those too. I will probably play that at some point. Moving on to Best Narrative, again, I have not played Final Fantasy VII Remake or Ghost of Tsushima. I've heard incredible things about both, or Last of Us, honestly. Like, Hades is the only game here that I've actually played. Hard to say, but I'm going to give it to Hades, just because, again, telling a narrative that's so compelling in a roguelike is something I've never seen before. So even just based off of that, I would probably give it to Hades, even if I have played the other games, but it's still just going to go to Hades. So now we're talking art direction. Ghost of Tsushima looks gorgeous, but it also looks a lot like Sekiro, from what I've seen. And that's not a bad thing. Both beautiful games. but I like to think of like unique art directions for this. Like that's what I would like to give it to. And then Final Fantasy VII Remake looks great, but it's also Final Fantasy. You know, it's we've seen it before, but it's just very polished now. Last of Us Part 2, it's very dark. I mean, the screenshot that they gave us, you can barely even see. So, and I like really colorful games. I'm just a fan of really colorful games. I like them being nice and vibrant. So it's either going to go to Ori or Hades. And this one's really tough. They both have incredible art directions. Like Ori is this kind of like mystical, very flowing art style, and also very colorful. And Hades is much more jagged in its animations, but it's still very colorful and smooth. Oh, this is tough. This is really, really tough. But if we're thinking specifically art direction, I think I'm gonna give it to Ori just because the game before it and this game kind of have its own style. Like you can kind of point to a few more games that are kind of like Hades. I mean, the other Supergiant games kind of like they look similar, right? And that's not bad. They have a really cool art style, but Ori, it's really hard to find any other games that kind of have this really glowy, flowing style, and it looks very smooth. But again, this is like neck and neck. This is super close. This is like super duper close, but I'm going to give this to Ori for art direction. Best score and music: Doom Eternal, Final Fantasy, Hades, Ori, and Last of Us. So again, didn't play Last of Us, so I have to put that. But I'm sure the score and the music is excellent. I'm also sure it's probably pretty dreary at the same time. And again, that's not a bad thing. It's just not what resonates with me. So Ori, nice voice crack there. So Ori has, again, that very mystical soundtrack. It works very well. It really, especially like those chase scenes, like when it ramps up, like you really feel it. It really pushes that feeling forward. Hades, while I love the music in that game, it's more muted, I feel like. Although, you know, a lot of the melodies stick into my head, especially, what is the song she sings in the second level? It's like Forgotten. It's like no more something. But that, like, even just that track is beautiful. They did a great job with the music there too. Final Fantasy VII Remake, great orchestral, booming sound. I've actually listened to the soundtrack a little bit, even though I haven't played the game, because Final Fantasy has great music. Let's not be wrong. And then going to Doom Eternal, I played this right when it came out, played it all the way through. It was a blast, and I love electric, like I love metal. I love electric guitars. That's like kind of my jam. So personally, I'm actually going to give this to Doom Eternal just because it's my style. It's the kind of music I like, and I think that the way the music is composed in that game is just so key. It's so good, and how it works with the dynamic of what's actually going on in the game as well, which a lot of these games do as well. It just works so well with Doom Eternal, so we're gonna give it to Doom there. Now, best audio design, sound effects, and just making you feel like you're there. So again, we got Doom Eternal, Half-Life Alyx, Ghost of Tsushima, Resident Evil 3, and Last of Us again. I didn't get a chance to play Resident Evil 3 yet, but the Resident Evil games always have really good sound design. I don't doubt that at all. Doom Eternal, again, had really good audio design as well. Half-Life Alyx, and still didn't play Ghost of Tsushima, but I believe it. I'm going to give this one to Half-Life Alyx right now because I've never played a game where I was surprised by something that sounded like it was coming from behind me. And it's probably, just being in VR, like, makes you like more invested in the world and what's going on. But I tossed this like explosive up at one of those, I'm forgetting the name of them, those monsters on the ceiling, right? The ones that like suck you up and try to eat your face. Put an explosive in one of them, and then I walked, and I didn't realize it was an explosive at the time, and I walked forward while it was sucking it up, and then I heard this explosion come from behind me, and I literally jumped and like looked behind me and saw the 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 dead monster bleeding right behind me, like bleeding out, and I'd never been shocked by an explosion that sounded like it was coming from behind me. It's not like I was using special gear or anything. I was just using my regular headphones, and it got me. So just based on that experience alone, I'm going to give it to Half-Life Alyx. Best performance, I am not qualified to cast a vote here, I feel like, because I didn't play Last of Us or Ghost of Tsushima or the most recent Spider-Man, which like just came out. I mean, like, what am I supposed to do? So I'm sure these are all fantastic performances, but I am gonna vote for the Logan Cunningham as Hades here, because he legitimately would crack me up sometimes. And I'm not gonna go too deep into it as to why, because I want people to play this game and like be surprised by it. But I'm just gonna give it to him because he has an amazing voice anyway. Games for impact. So this has always been an interesting category. It's for thought-provoking game with a pro-social meaning or message. And I've only played one of these. It was Spiritfarer. And it has a ton of feels. The animation is just beautiful. Beautiful looking game. And I'm sure all of these games are beautiful as well. And again, these are games that I haven't heard much of. I've never heard of It Found. I've never heard of Tell Me Why. Oh no, I have heard of Tell Me Why, but I've also never heard of Through the Darkest of Times. And all these games look awesome. I'm going to try to check some out as well. But I'm going to just vote for Spiritfarer because, again, it's the only one I've played, and it definitely had an impact on me. So I will vote for that. Best Indie. Now, indie games are kind of my jam. I love indie games. I feel like indie games are a great way for developers to try new ideas. Sometimes with these big AAA games, we get really invested in formulas that are known to work, right? Because we want to get as many sales as possible on our games. But indie games typically have a little more freedom. They're smaller development teams, and they're trying to just invoke a vision. And Carry On's a great example, because that's like where you're the bad guy. You're a real bad guy. You're a big monster. You're flown around everywhere, but honestly, like, I bought it and I played it a little bit. It didn't keep me super engaged, though I love the art and the idea, and I'm probably going to go back to it and beat it. Fall Guys, moving on, is a game that causes so much rage, but I've played it a lot with family and friends. We've had a great time with it, but I'm definitely not giving it the best indie game. It's kind of broken, and some of the there's games that are much better than others. While a blast, definitely not my best indie game of the year. Spelunky 2 just came out recently. I haven't had a chance to try it yet, but I've heard great things. I mean, Spelunky is a classic. That's one of the classic indie games. One of the markers of when indie games finally started becoming big, early 2010s, right? I think it came out in 2012. So I'm really excited to play Spelunky 2. It looks great, but I get a little there's something with Spelunky's visuals that bother me. I'm not really sure what it is. Everything just kind of looks a little stiff. But that's just a personal opinion. I still love how colorful it is. I'm looking forward to playing the actual game. Spiritfarer, absolute gorgeous game. I haven't seen such a well animated game. It looks like it's a cartoon. It looks like it's like one of the old school Disney or Don Bluth cartoons. It looks gorgeous. Gameplay's fun. It's just it's a blast. But Hades, I've put more hours in a Hades than probably any other game, well, except Animal Crossing, than any other game this year. So I'm still going to give it to Hades. Spiritfarer is an extremely close second. But I personally give it to, and this comes down to personal preference, I think, whether you prefer Hades or Spiritfarer. They're both satisfy different gaming mechanisms in the brain. But I'm definitely going to give it to Hades there. Best mobile game. So Among Us, Call of Duty Mobile, Genshin Impact, which I guess is the Breath of the Wild clone. I haven't played it. Legends of Runeterra, Pokemon Cafe Mix. So I played Pokemon Cafe Mix for a grand total of maybe about 5 minutes, and I hated it. It just seemed empty. I don't really know what it was doing. It seemed like it was a puzzle game. I think it's only here because it's a Pokemon game. So, I mean, I want to give it to Among Us just because of of just the impact that it's had this year, even though it technically came out in 2018, but maybe that was the Steam version. Maybe they made the mobile version in 2020 and that's why it's here. I'm not really sure. You admit me out. I've heard actually the Call of Duty mobile game is good, but there's something in me that can't vote for a Call of Duty game. It gets enough support as it is. Genshin Impact I've heard is fun, but again, I haven't played it. But I'm just going to give it to Among Us just based on the impact that it's had this year. It has been a great game to play while we're all stuck at home. Best community support, Apex Legends, Destiny 2, Fall Guys, Fortnite, No Man's Sky, and Valorant. So I'm not huge on the multiplayer shooter genre. I've played Apex like a couple rounds. I haven't played Destiny 2. I haven't played No Man's Sky. I haven't played Valorant. I haven't played Fortnite. I think I will give it to Fall Guys though, just because that's the only one here where it's like smaller team, I feel like, and for the game to blow up that hard, and when you're a smaller team with smaller resources, stop doing that. Let me finish. And while you're a smaller team, and you have like that many people on your game, like all of a sudden, like server impacts and all that nonsense, it's just like, all right, well. I feel like they have the least amount of resources, but they were still able to get things back up and running when the game was blowing up. So I'll give it to Fall Guys, mostly because I haven't played the other ones also. Best VR experience, Half-Life Alyx. I'm sorry, I haven't really played any of the others, but I know that they're not going to be as good as Half-Life Alyx. I mean, there's just, that game's on another level. And I could be wrong on that, but I'm voting for Half-Life Alyx right now. Innovation and accessibility. This is an awesome, awesome award. I don't know exactly why these games are voted or why these games are nominated for this reason. But anyway, recognizing software or hardware that is pushing the medium forward by adding features, technology, and content to help games be played and enjoyed by even wider audiences. So a lot of accessibility features in these games. And honestly, big kudos to all of these games for going above and beyond doing that. I'm not going to cast a vote because I don't know. Well, first of all, I haven't played most of these games, and I don't know exactly what they did to make them more accessible, and that's what this award is. So I'm actually going to skip this one, but kudos to all of those games. We need all games to be doing more of that. Best action game. Doom Eternal, Hades, Half-Life Alyx, Noir 2, however you say that, Neo? Is it Neo? Neo 2, Streets of Rage 4. I've played the first 3. Did not play Streets of Rage 4. I watched the Donkey video of Neo 2, and it just seems like a nightmare. I wouldn't even probably play it. Best action. Focus primarily on combat. So that's what we got to think about here, is what is focusing on combat, which one of these games pulls through the most. And so I'm going to push to the 3 games that I've played, being Half-Life Alyx, Hades, and Doom Eternal. Half-Life Alyx I'm going to toss because while action is a big part of that game, it's also like puzzle solving and just world immersion and all of that. Focusing specifically on action, I mean, my gut says Hades, but the more I think about it, I want to say Doom Eternal just because the action sequences are so good. And in fact, I'm trying to think of like times where I'm like so invested in it, just moving my mouse around and just boom, looking around, doing all this. And I do that in Hades, but not as much as Doom Eternal. Like it was able to suck me into the action so well. And I think I will just go Doom Eternal. Hades, extremely close second. But if we're talking about just straight up action, we'll give it to Doom Eternal. Moving on to best role-playing game, Final Fantasy VII Remake, Genshin Impact, Persona 5 Royale, Wasteland 3, and Yakuza Like a Dragon. So this game just came out. Like it's always kind of interesting when these games come out like a week before the nominees are selected, and it's like, were you really able to determine if this game was worth it in a week to put here? Which it probably is. I mean, Yakuza games are great, don't get me wrong, but it's always really interesting to see how quickly games can pop on here. But I'm going to give it to Persona 5 because I love Persona 5 to death, so, like I was just saying, there's not enough time to play games. I played through the original Persona 5, it took me like 120 hours, whatever it was. And what did I do when Persona 5 Royale came out? I started playing it again. So that can just tell you how much I like this game and appreciate it. Best fighting game, I am not qualified for this. The only fighting game I play is Smash Bros, which to some people isn't even a fighting game, so we're just gonna skip this one. Best family game, Animal Crossing, Crash 4, Fall Guys, no, that tears people apart. Mario Kart Live Home Circuit, which I do want to play, but I haven't yet. Minecraft Dungeons, which we played here. I have a couple roommates. We played Minecraft Dungeons a little bit. It never grabbed me. I've always had trouble with some of these games like Diablo and things like Minecraft Dungeons. I have a hard time getting engaged with them. It always feels like there's just chaos going everywhere, and I can't keep track of things as much. And maybe that's just because I'm getting old. But it's a great game. Didn't resonate with me. And Paper Mario the Origami King, which I actually really enjoyed. I enjoyed it a lot more than I thought, since things haven't been in traditional Paper Mario status recently. But that being said, I still really liked it. But if we're going with like just best family game, for the best game appropriate for a family play, irrespective of genre or platform. Okay, so that's pretty vague. I don't really know what that means. I'm just going to give it to Animal Crossing just based on the impact that it had this year and kind of like a game that we all needed this year. Best multiplayer, Animal Crossing, Among Us, Call of Duty Warzone, Fall Guys, and Valorant. This is a tough one. I mean, best multiplayer, I think I'm just going to give it to Among Us just because, again, of the impact that it's had this year. It's been obviously really hard for us to get together, and that's been a kind of a really good game. I mean, just for playing with friends. I mean, I think it's great. Animal Crossing is like right there too. There's just some limitations in Animal Crossing's multiplayer that kind of bug me, and I think that's the reason why I'm not voting for it, because we have enjoyed playing Animal Crossing multiplayer a lot, but essentially it's just come to my island, check it out, maybe I'll give you some DIYs, and then you leave. There isn't really much to actually do together besides show your stuff off, which is great, but in terms of like actually multiplayer, if we're talking best multiplayer, interacting, I'm gonna give it to Among Us. Best debut game. So this is the best game created by a new indie developer. So we got Carry On, Mortal Shell, Raji and Epic Quest, Roki, and Phasmophobia. We've been having a lot of fun playing Phasmophobia in this house here. But it's like, it's weird because it's in early access. So why does it get nominated now? Like, shouldn't it like be in a category when it's like fully released? Like, that's what I've never really understood, because it's like sometimes they wait till it's fully released and sometimes it's not. Because like Hades was technically available last year in early access, but now it's getting all the nominees. So why does Phasmophobia get put here when it's not out yet? So I'm just not going to vote for it based on that, but it has been a lot of fun. Don't get me wrong, but like it should be finished before it starts getting nominated for awards. Roki I did not play, but it looks very pretty. Raji, I have it. I bought it mostly to support the developers because I thought it was really cool that they were making like an Indian centric, for lack of a better word, lore of just Indian culture, and I thought that was really cool because that doesn't happen much. So, but I haven't played it yet. So there's that mixed match there. Mortal Shell I've never heard of before, so I'll definitely try to check it out. Carry On, I'm probably just gonna vote for Carry On here just because of I really like the unique idea. Obviously this isn't the first game where you play as the bad guy, but it's kind of the first game where you play as like this powerful of a bad guy. At least it seems like. So I'm gonna go vote for that. Sorry, I just skipped a bunch of esports stuff because I'm not really in tune to a lot of it. But but I gotta give it to Alex Golden Boy Mendez because he's just a treasure. He's a treasure. I will always vote for him, even though I'm sure everybody up here is very talented. But Golden Boy, how can you say no to Golden Boy? That's actually it. So we're gonna hop back up here for the coveted Game of the Year vote. And what do we got? We got Doom Eternal, Final Fantasy VII Remake, Ghost of Tsushima, Hades, Animal Crossing, and The Last of Us Part 2. We're talking about whole complete game experience. Now, again, I have not played Final Fantasy VII Remake, Ghost of Tsushima, or Last of Us Part 2, so I've only played half of these games. Doom Eternal was a ton of fun, really fun game. But I played through it once, and I didn't really have a desire to play through it again. And that doesn't necessarily mean, that's not technically a bad thing. But with games that have resonated with me the most, games like Persona 5, well, that's the only one I can come up with right now, just because like I wanted to actually replay that game again, even after spending over 100 hours with it. I wanted to play it again. So that's what really sticks with me. I feel like if I want to play a game again after completing it, because that doesn't usually happen. Oh, and like Ori, that's another one too, where it's like I want to play it again. That doesn't happen to me often because I just want to play all the games. So for me, wanting to play a game again is a huge push into like that game be my favorite. Like I've played through Celeste countless times. Flex the poster. But yeah, so I'm not gonna give it to Doom Eternal. Final Fantasy VII Remake, again, didn't play it. I'm not gonna give it to the games I haven't played. So we're between Hades and Animal Crossing. Animal Crossing, I love. I think that it's super fun game. It's super wholesome. It's been a great way for me to hang out with my siblings because, again, we're all in separate houses. It's hard to hang out. Some of us have more at-risk jobs than others. So just gathering in our islands and hanging out and being able to just kind of, shoot the shit while we talk and hang out, like that's been a very nice way to hang out. And Animal Crossing All Up is just a very tranquil experience. If I'm ever stressed out or having a lot of anxiety, I'll just play a little Animal Crossing. I'll just busy myself with a mundane task, and it's just been a ton of fun all up. But Hades, with its gameplay loop, its upgrades, it's constantly throwing fresh things at you, the story, the characters, just the complete experience that Hades has brought, it has been something that, like, it's my favorite game that I've played since Celeste, I'm pretty sure, in terms of just being a complete experience. And again, Celeste came out early 2018. Like, it's been a long time, but Hades just, like, it struck something in me. There's something that made me just love that game. So it's going to go for Hades for me. That's going to be my game of the year. So thank you, everybody, for joining us. Hope you enjoy watching the Game of the Year awards. Looks like it's happening on December 10th. It should be a fun thing to look through. Hopefully we'll see some cool new trailers. That's been kind of a cool thing of the Game Awards, that we'll usually see some cool trailers to come out from Sony, Microsoft, and Nintendo. Let me know what your Game of the Year was in the comments. I would love to hear it. And out of all of these games that I've mentioned that I haven't played yet, which one should I play the most? I think it's Ghost of Tsushima, but let me know if it's something different. And again, thank you all for joining us, and we'll see you from our bonus time later on. Take care.